I didn't move. If I did, I felt like he might disappear, like he was only there because I wasn't looking at him too hard. And the second I moved, the second I let myself believe, he'd be gone. The blue light from the crystal-covered walls pulsed softly around us, but it felt distant now, like it was waiting for something to happen. My heart hammered so loudly in my ears I was sure it would drown out his voice if he spoke again. He stood there like he belonged, not floating or brighter than everything else, just solid, real, and alive. His white clothes caught the blue crystal light gently, like snow reflecting beams of moonlight. His short light brown hair was combed over, but not perfectly, the way it always looked by the end of the day. His dark brown eyes were steady and warm, the same eyes that used to make me feel safe without him ever having to say anything at all. I swallowed. Are you... you're not real, I said quietly. My voice echoed, but not much. The cavern suddenly didn't feel very big anymore. He smiled. Am I? He said softly, in a tone that was half question, half statement. I didn't know why, but that made my chest hurt. I shook my head. You can't be. It's this place. I glanced around at the glowing crystals, casting my memories across their surfaces, then dropped my gaze to the ground between us. My breathing began to quicken. I remember when you... My throat closed. I couldn't finish. You're gone? Slipped out in a hoarse whisper. Yes, he said gently, and I looked up at him. His smile remained, and his gaze on me was unwavering. And I'm here, he added. That shouldn't have made sense. It didn't, but something inside me loosened anyway, so I took a careful, shaky step toward him, then stopped, darting a look around at the crystals still softly pulsing, afraid getting closer would somehow break whatever this was. If I blink or turn away? I whispered my thoughts aloud. Are you going to disappear? He didn't answer right away. He just watched me as I hesitantly relaxed my shoulders a bit. His silence was strangely reassuring. You're breathing, he stated. I frowned, confused. What? I asked. You're breathing, he repeated. You're still standing. Your feet are on the ground. Ivory, you're not falling anymore. I hesitated before tilting my head down to my feet, afraid he'd vanish if I did. I stared at the pebbles beneath my shoes, at my hands, scraped, shaking, and sore, at my dark, wet clothes that seemed to absorb the blue glow cast across them from the cavern. I watched my chest rise and fall quickly as confusion and guilt continued to swirl through my mind. I didn't mean to, I said suddenly. The words rushed out before I could stop them. I clutched the tear in my hoodie below my shoulder. I could feel my heartbeat increasing as the anxiety began bubbling over again. I didn't want to fall. Kai... I know, he calmly interjected. Tears burned in my eyes, but I kept my gaze lowered. The simple white shoes my dad wore stayed firmly planted a few feet in front of me. He was killed because of me, I said, as tears instantly blurred the ground between us. My dad remained quiet. He didn't interrupt me, nor did he argue. He just stood there, listening. If I had just listened, if I had just acted, just moved, or done something, anything, I went on, my voice cracking as everything unraveled. It's my fault. It's all my fault, Daddy. Louisa was hurt and taken. Then what happened to Flurry and Kai, Tully? Everywhere I go, someone gets hurt, and everyone keeps saying humans make things worse and that the void is and maybe they're right because Ivory! He said my name the way he always did when I spiraled, firm but gentle. You were there, he continued, but you weren't in control. Those words stopped me. My breathing shifted from deep, gasping sobs to short, hitched breaths. Being present isn't the same as being responsible, he added. I furrowed my brow, thinking about his words. I knew what he meant, but the feeling in my heart, my mind, and my soul just wouldn't let me truly hear them. That doesn't feel true, I whispered, glancing up at him for a moment. His soft expression remained focused on me before I dropped my eyes back to the ground. I know, he said again, quiet and understanding, as if he instantly understood exactly what I meant. The crystals hummed softly around us. Their blue glow had slightly dimmed, like the cavern itself had started to relax. You thought that once before? He continued. A long time ago. A knot instantly pulled tight in my chest. He paused. You were there. I sucked in a sharp breath and tightly closed my eyes. You reached for me. Calling my name, he started, and the buried memory crawled back up from the suppressed depths of my mind along with its pain. I slowly shook my head in quiet defiance. You spent your whole life thinking that if you'd moved faster, yelled louder, done something different. My hands curled into fists as I braced myself. The terrified feelings that had long been buried rushed back into my mind and heart. I was right there, I whispered, my body tense. I should have. You were 6, Ivory, he said calmly, but the words hit hard. You didn't cause it, he said gently, but you carried it anyway. My vision blurred. I let out a slow, shaky exhale, realizing I had been holding my breath. I began, but the tears and guilt felt too overwhelming. The memories displayed on the crystal surrounding us had all seemed happy and warm, but I didn't want to risk accidentally seeing it, reliving that day. You've been carrying something that was never yours, sweetie, he added. I looked up at him and let out a weak, broken laugh that felt almost involuntary. Tell that to everyone who's dead, I said. He stepped closer. You don't honor them by destroying yourself, he said, his voice firmer now, more determined. They didn't give their lives so you could lose yours. My eyes continued filling with tears as my gaze drifted past him toward the cavern walls, where I noticed something. The memories flickered. One in particular caught my eye. It was Louisa and me. We were younger, standing at the edge of a busy street with our bikes beside us, ready to cross, but cars rushed past, fast, loud, and way too close. I stood frozen, my knuckles white from how tightly I gripped my handlebars. I anxiously waited for a big enough opening, but Louisa didn't. She stepped right off the curb with confidence. Louisa! I heard myself shout. In the memory, I dropped my bike and ran after her, grabbing her arm and yanking her back just as a car sped past us, honking aggressively as it swerved. My heart pounded even watching it now. What are you doing? I snapped at her. You have to look both ways. You could have been. She just blinked at me with a confused frown, like she was annoyed I had stopped her. Then her expression shifted into a smile, and she shrugged like it wasn't a big deal, like it never had been. My younger self shook her head, frustrated at how Louisa could be so careless. Then suddenly, we burst out laughing together at the nerve-wracking experience. I knew she felt nervous and shaken too, but I had always wondered how she could face something so scary and dangerous and smile anyway. That was Louisa. always moving, always going, even if someone told her otherwise, sometimes to a fault, but even when she was scared, she was willing to try, to go, to do. The memory faded. I swallowed and thought of her now, her stubborn face, the way she ran straight into danger like fear was optional. Growing up, I'd always thought that was reckless, but now I realized it wasn't always carelessness, and that thought stayed with me. "She'll come for me," I whispered. "I know," he said, a quiet chuckle in his voice. "But how do you know?" I asked, hoping somehow he could sense her, see her. "Because your mother raised her," he replied. I frowned and looked back at the ground between us. "But Mom," my voice broke as I thought of seeing her in the council meeting room. "She's there. She's Noctivir's elder now. She won't be able to do anything," I stammered. He tilted his head. "Does that sound like her?" he asked, one eyebrow raised with an amused look. I hesitated. Then I remembered Flint. Gark. This rescue mission. Everything she had orchestrated behind the scenes. I slowly shook my head. "No, not at all," I said quietly. "Maybe," he said gently. "She never stopped being your mom." I looked up. "Maybe she found the only way she could stay," he said as a sad, soft smile crossed his face. My chest tightened as my thoughts drifted to Mom. Here. Alive. Healthy. But still, not quite herself. "It still feels like she left," I admitted. "I know," he said softly, nodding. "Maybe to you. It almost felt like losing her twice." More tears slipped down my face. "She couldn't stay the way she was," he continued. "So a part of her stayed here, the part strong enough to protect this place, and trusted you and your sister to keep going." The crystals shimmered faintly. Their glow dimmed slightly. "She never chose Noctivir over you," he said. "Maybe this was the only way she could still choose you." I pressed my hands against my chest, trying to breathe. I don't understand," I whispered. "She's still Mom?" He smiled. "She always will be." As he spoke, the light in the cavern shifted again, softer now. I looked around and watched the memories on the walls begin to slow, blur, and fade. "I don't want you to go," I said quickly, realizing what was happening. "I still have questions." "I know," he said, "but this isn't about answers." "Then what is it about?" I asked, frustrated, still crying. His gaze drifted past me. "Moving," he said. "Not back. Through." I turned and followed his eyes. The crystals on the far wall looked different now. Their color had faded completely. I watched as the rest of the cavern's crystals faded too, like a ripple through water, becoming clearer and thinner, almost like glass. "There's always a way through," he said. "It's just not always the one you want." The glow dimmed to a pale blue aura that barely kept the cavern lit enough for me to still see my dad in front of me. Darkness started closing in around us. "You can do this," he said, his own form beginning to fade with the dying glow of the crystals. "Even while scared, even while hurting." That same relentless knot formed in my throat. "Will I see you again?" I asked, my voice rising slightly as panic seeped back in. He smiled, seeming proud of the question. "Of course, sweetie," he answered. The crystals, completely drained of their blue light, leaving only smooth, glassy stone behind. The memories vanished, and seconds later, so did he. He was gone. "Bye, Dad," I whispered. The silence that followed engulfed me, except it didn't feel crushing this time. It felt calm. I knelt down on the pebbly ground for a long moment. Tears fell freely, while exhausted sobs echoed off the changed cavern walls. I was alone again, yet I was breathing, shaking, cold, and with my clothes still soaked. But I was alive. After a while, I took several deep breaths and slowly stifled my crying. I turned toward the wall my dad had been looking at and realized the cavern wasn't completely black. I could still see because the tiniest speck of light reflected off the now clear, glassy walls. I gently ran my fingers along the wall as I approached the spot. It looked different from the others. The dark gray stone and dirt behind the rest of the cavern walls wasn't here, and the crystal's new form even felt different, hollow and brittle. Hope slowly rose in my chest as I pulled my sleeve over my hand, raised my fist, and struck the wall. The crystal shattered with ease. Fragments scattered across the ground and onto my shoes, reflecting the faint source of light. I looked through the opening to see a large, dark tunnel, and far in the distance, a faint glow. A choked sob mixed with a surprised laugh escaped me. I heard rushing water echoing from somewhere deep within the tunnel. This would lead me out. I took one last look back at the cavern behind me. I thought about the memories that had once covered the walls. I thought of Dad, and when my mind started drifting toward fear and doubt again, his words echoed through me. "Not back. Through." And I actually smiled, a real, shaky but genuine smile. "Thank you," I whispered, so quietly the cavern barely echoed it back. But something deep inside me knew it had been heard. I looked into the pitch-black tunnel and stepped forward, because waiting wasn't a way through, and neither was going back to who I was.